decades. There's a story in the Irish Examiner today about how the Phoenix Park racecourse, one of the largest developments in the state, is afflicted with these very serious fire defects. Over 500 apartments are affected, which means that effectively the fire would not be stopped in common areas and would race through into people's homes, making them unsafe for people to live in. This is just the latest in a litany of fire defects that have been revealed in people's apartments and duplexes. We know that almost 100,000 homes across the country are affected. It's an absolute scandal. What is kind of unique in this situation is that the developer is incredibly still on site, still building a later phase of the development. But under the current law, they basically can wash their hands of it. It's nothing to do with them. They built it more than 7 years ago and therefore cannot legally be held responsible. In another case, Harcourt Developments, who built the Crescent in Park West, which was featured in Primetime last Thursday, they're still building. They recently got a massive state contract for the redevelopment of the North Quays in Waterford. We think it's a scandal. That's what I'm going to be raising at Leaders' Questions today. What is being done to tackle these developers, and will the government commit to giving 100% redress, which is the only just and workable solution? The other thing I want to raise briefly is in relation to Micheál Martin's comments in the Dáil on Tuesday. So he said, under the cover of Dáil privilege, that myself, Richard Boyd Barrett and Mick Barry were puppets of Putin. I cannot overstate how serious it is that you have the Taoiseach of the country using Dáil privilege to smear his political opponents as being agents of a foreign dictator. Obviously without any evidence whatsoever, because obviously it's not true. Our record of opposing Putin is much, much stronger than Fianna Fáil's record of opposing Putin. We have been consistent. When Bertie Ahern was shaking Vladimir Putin's hands, we were protesting against the assault on Chechnya. It is our co-thinkers in Russia who are being repressed for organising anti-war protests. So I really do think it is quite scandalous that he feels he can use the platform of the Dáil to just slander people as agents of a foreign dictator. I think it's incredible. I asked him yesterday to withdraw the comments. He refused to do so, citing freedom of speech. This isn't about freedom of speech, because of course he has every freedom in the world to come out here and to say it, to go on to radio or TV to say it. The point is he chose to use Dáil privilege to say it, and it's a very clear abuse of Dáil privilege. So I've since written to the Ceann Comhairle, asking the Ceann Comhairle, as I believe is provided for within the rules. He was clearly out of order to call upon the Taoiseach to withdraw those remarks.
Okay, everybody. I just want to make a comment on the announcement last night that the Dáil Reform Committee has agreed to establish a special committee on the issue of assisted dying. And obviously this has been a very protracted last 18 months in relation to the issue. The Justice Committee made a recommendation a year and a half ago to look at this issue via a special committee. It has taken 18 months to come up with that kind of formulation. So I'm hoping that the committee will meet before Christmas. I'm hoping to be on it. There's no guarantee I will be on it. It runs by the Hunt system, so there's 9 TDs, 5 centres and a chair, and obviously the majority have to be government affiliated TDs and centres. The chair will be probably from the regional independence group. Whether they take it or not, that's up to them. If they don't take it, then the next in line, I think, is a government chair. So I think it's important that this committee gets up and running and examines the issue, the broad spectrum issue around assisted dying. It's quite a complex issue, but I think this country is, ready and kind of willing to have a very meaningful discussion about quite a complex issue such as assisted dying. So look forward to the discussion ahead, and hopefully I could be on the committee in some capacity. Thank you.
Gina, just on the assisted dying, do you think it should have taken the death of someone like Vicky Phelan for the government to get their skates on and set up a committee like this?
Yeah, I mean, I know when 2 years ago, when down the convention centre, when there was a vote on the issue to progress the bill, the Time of Dignity bill, I know Vicky was elated that night. She rang me up at 12:30. She said, "Gino, this is brilliant." And we all thought that, okay, it's progressing to the next stage, meaning committee stage. Now, the Justice Committee done absolutely zero with it. Zero. For 9 months, they kind of They didn't do any kind of, I would say, meaningful consultation. They didn't do any kind of examining of the bill. They basically said, look, the bill can't continue because it's kind of ambiguities around it. I think it could have progressing, but I think it's indicative of this government that, it takes somebody's... Vicky was very, very courageous in her situation when she was saying, look, this is an issue that means a lot to me, and I know she's told us, those that were campaigning at the time, this means a lot to her, but not to progress in a meaningful way was pretty outrageous. Now look, we're at a situation where the special committee now is going to be established, and I think we owe it to a lot of people that have campaigned for this issue. Vicky Phelan, one of them, Bernadette Ford, Marty Fleming, people that were in that situation that had to go abroad to basically look for a medical assistance at Dáil. So this is an issue that, as I said, I think the country is ready for, and I think politicians, as always, are behind the times, and because public opinion is consistent on this issue, is that the public opinion, 3/4 of people have said that they would support changing of legislation around assisted dying. So look, I think politicians have got to get with the times, and hopefully with examining this issue, we can examine the whole broad spectrum of assisted dying.
Well, can I just ask you about your comments about the Taoiseach? You've accused him as well of putting up a video of him calling you puppets for Putin, or whatever he said, on Twitter, and then deleting it. Why do you think he would have deleted that?
Well, I think it's certainly interesting that he deleted it, as far as I know, from a number of social media platforms. I can think of two potential reasons why he deleted it. One is that he knows that it's a lie, and he is the decent politician that many in the media tells us that he is, and he decided, no, I won't put that lie online, and I'll take it down. Secondly, someone may have told him that in repeating the lie on social media, he would no longer be covered by Dáil privileged, and he may be able to be sued for those, and then decided to take it down. We don't know. I intend to ask him that question, but obviously the best way that this will be resolved is by him withdrawing the comments and accepting that while we disagree about Ireland's being increasingly aligned with NATO, while we disagree with the process of militarisation that he's driving, that obviously we are not Putin's puppets of Putin.
Who do you assume?
Like I said, the best way that this can be resolved is for the Taoiseach to come into the Dáil to withdraw the remarks.
But you did say though that he put it deleted. That's a pretty serious charge to make, that you might have taken it down because you might be sued. So are you saying that is something you would consider?
Well, I think definitely you should ask him why he took it down. I would definitely be very intrigued to get the answer.
That's not what I asked. Would you sue him?
Well, look, we'd need to consider that. That's something down the line. I will be very hopeful. It's very clear he stepped over the line. It's very clear he broke the rules of the Dáil. I'm therefore quite hopeful that the Ceann Comhairle will instruct him to withdraw those remarks. And then if he was to repeat those remarks outside the Dáil, well then, okay, we're into another ballpark. But hopefully he will withdraw the remarks next week, presumably. And that would be the end of the matter.
So possibly?
We'll need to see what happens.